Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's me, Metalant, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over a little bit of a different style of content today, but we're going to be talking about how to build in Stadium Overwatch, as well as the concept of what a build is in general, and the philosophy behind it so that you guys can actually make your own builds instead of having to steal people's off the internet, which is pretty cool. Let's start by talking about what is a build, what is the goal of a build, and how you can make one yourself. So a build is a set of predetermined skills and powers that you intend to achieve over a period of time through leveling and progression. Think about how you gain powers every other round. The powers that you get are intended in the beginning with a build, but you have to get them through progression over a period of time, aka every other round, in order to reach the goal. Overall, the goal of a build is to create one that suits you, and it can range anywhere from fun strong, strongest physically possible, fastest, cooldown oriented, survivability, etc. Basically, when it comes to making a build, you want to make what you want. So if you're somebody who likes to play Genji more on the pokey side and you want to farm your ult, you might want to go for a build that will reduce the ult cost of your actual ultimate, give some buffs when you use your ultimate, give yourself good damage to poke with to farm that ultimate a little bit faster, and as much things as possible to get that ult as quickly as possible while also keeping the ult very strong. Maybe that's the build that works best for you, and maybe it's not the same build that works the best for somebody else. Or you can go with a build on Lucio that maximizes your movement just for fun. That could also be what you want to do. Or you want to play a character like Kiriko, who has really high cooldowns on Suzu, but you want to get a cooldown oriented build so you can throw that Suzu as many times as physically possible. So you lower your cooldowns as much as possible, as well as getting 2 Suzu charges, so that while you wait for one, you can be getting the other. Maybe that's how you want to play as well, but it's really down to what you want. That is how a build should work. It should not be, hey, I'm this person and I made this build, you should use it because it's strong. No, it should be, hey, I want to make a build that's going to fit my needs, and I want to come up with that build myself, because that is where the satisfaction comes from. It shouldn't just be getting strong. It shouldn't just be winning. It should be making your own build so that you have the most fun while playing. When you're having fun, you will do 99% better than somebody who is trying their hardest and not having any fun at all. You will do better 99% of the time as long as you're having fun. Lastly, we're going to talk about how you can make your own build. So let's get into it. How to make your own build and the philosophy behind a build. So let's talk about the philosophy first. Let's say we have this set of numbers, 12, 25, and 5, right here. And let's say, for the sake of this, 12 is going to be our attack, 25 is going to be our defense, and 5 is going to be our mobility. Attack, defense, mobility. Now, this doesn't really apply in Overwatch terms, but for Overwatch, we'll just say weapon power, HP, armor, survivability, anything like that, and then movement speed, attack speed, any kind of like dexterity. For people who play like MOBAs and stuff, that's kind of like the logic, right? So let's say we have these numbers, and this is how much we put into attack, this is how much we put into defense, and this is how much we put into mobility, all in this little row here. And when we multiply them together, we get our power total, which is 1,500 flat. That's pretty good. We have a good amount of defense, a little bit of mobility here and there, and some attack. That's all right. Now, let's even out our hit by focusing on one number instead of many different numbers. So think about the logic this way. Instead of splitting the numbers all in different areas, we want to try and narrow each number to be as close together as possible while still being even. Let me explain what this means. Now, instead of spreading resources very thin like we're doing here, let's just focus on one. What do we want that one to be? Do we want it to be defense? Do we want it to be mobility? Or do we want it to be attack? Well, in the grand scheme of things, as of right now, that actually does not matter whatsoever. Instead, let's focus on this. Let's even out the distribution of numbers and then pick either attack, defense, or mobility to be the focal point of it. So if you add up all the numbers that we have, our actual number total is 42. And if we divide 42 by the total amount of numbers here, we will get 14. So that's actually means that 14 plus 14 plus 14 equals 42, which is the same total as the numbers we had just before. However, when you multiply 14 times 14 times 14, the number that you get is actually bigger. So while the totals may be the same, we have the same amount of skills that we were using before, the same amount of powers, but the way that we use them is spread differently. We actually become stronger as a result. So this is the philosophy of a build. The goal is not to spread our resources too thin, but to put them all into one singular goal in which all pieces work in unison, aka each number being equal. Let's talk about a more in-depth way of building that involves more than just focusing into one thing. All right, I'm putting the pen away for this one. We're just gonna talk for a minute. This is what we're gonna call a hybrid or cyclical build and why they're stronger. So a hybrid, or as I call it, cyclical build, is a build that takes advantage of stronger powers by using some form of cycle to negate the downsides. So, for example, if you wanted to make a build, you could buff raw power and not focus on the downsides of powers. However, if you do this, there's going to be a point where you can't beat somebody who has found a way to completely disregard them. Some builds don't require downsides to be similarly effective. However, in most cases, powers with downsides tend to be stronger when those downsides can be negated. So, I'm going to show you a great example right here. There's a strong power with a downside attached to it, versus an instant value power, which could be stacked up with a build to be fairly strong. Let's talk about it. The strong with the downside power is Dragon's Breath. Dragon Blade, which is his ultimate. Those swings from that Dragon Blade launch a large piercing projectile that deals 50% of Dragon Blade's total damage. As of right now, I'm pretty sure that number is 110. So you're dealing roughly 55 damage with that extra launched projectile. That's pretty strong, especially considering that Blade is a melee skill. You can add range to it that will allow you to not only hit the target you're actually looking at, but if you line it up properly, you can hit more than one target and even use it at range to your advantage if you don't feel like engaging. That's pretty strong. The only downside is that it's 50% of the total damage, which is not 100%, and we want as much damage as possible. So we're gonna have to find a way to negate that. However, we could just take instant value if we wanted to, which your shuriken primary fire will throw 2 additional shuriken that don't consume any ammo. That's instant value. That's not bad. But is it as overpowered as getting an extra 50% damage added on top of your base damage, as well as the fact that it can pierce and be launched? I don't think it's nearly as good. The only thing is that you see this downside. It deals 50% of the total damage. It doesn't deal as much. We can actually learn to negate that and make that a useful part of the build and make that strong, versus just taking this instant value that doesn't really scale as much as this one will. So I'm going to show you guys an instant value build versus a cyclical build, and we're going to see the difference in live action. All right, here I am on Overwatch, and we're just going to take a great example of what this looks like. Let's start with an instant value build. We're going to use Freya as our example because she's fairly new and I don't really know much about her, but let's just go with this. So we want instant value. I'm taking this one. When you fire updraft, fire a take aim bolt, there's no downsides to that. When you use an ability, restore 50% of your max ammo. There's no downsides to that. This has a downside. I don't want it. This is good. This is instant value. Your fall speed is decreased while you're using your bow. That's nice. And, we'll just go with this one because this is also instant value. You use your ultimate, you gain pretty good value. And then we're just going to do damage, attack speed. Actually, we don't want attack speed. We're just going to go like lots of damage, I think. Seems like a pretty easy thing. This has no downsides whatsoever, and then the only other strongest one we can get is this one. 100% weapon damage, instant value. We fire one of these. If I hit a headshot, that's pretty good damage. Let's see how fast I can kill this guy using this instant damage. Let's see. Hey, not too bad. And even like on a regular NPC, it does quite a bit of damage. So there you go. That's instant value. There's not much to it. Just simple value, pretty effective. It is what it is. Now let's look at something a little bit different. I'm going to take Freya again, and I'm going to build it just randomly off of a lot of powers that seem to have downsides or things that I think would work together. So the very, very first thing that I think I'm gonna go for is, I'm I'm gonna get Volley Ado. We're gonna get Redux, Deep Pockets, and Forager. We're gonna get this little line here, I think. All right, seems pretty cool. And we're gonna try and work in unison with these. So when we use, this is how we're gonna build this cycle. Basically, the cycle we wanna work towards, it seems like, is using an ability will give us ammo back. So we wanna try and fire as many shots as we can without ever having to reload. That's already become our goal. So when we use an ability, we get ammo. When we get ammo, we're allowed to shoot. Now what we need to do is make it so that when we shoot, we get our cooldowns. Basically with this Redux ability, we already pretty much have that, but we can make it even better. But when we shoot, we get our cooldowns. Our cooldowns give us ammo. When we have ammo, we are allowed to shoot. It has become a cycle. It's very, very easy to follow. Hopefully you understand how that works. Where we do one thing, which enables another thing, which enables another thing. But if I took random stuff and then just took this like, oh, this one, there's reduced damage in a spread, and then I took things that didn't benefit this power, there would be no reason to take it, and it would only harm me. So let's go over and let's see if there's anything more we can do. All right, when take aim bolts stick an enemy, increase your attack speed. I immediately like this one. Eliminations reset both charges of your cooldown. That's important because that also gives us ammo. I'm gonna get the Closer and Eye of the Spider. I think I'm immediately getting those. Let's see if there's any of the other ones here. Don't want that. Don't really want any of these either. I think we're just gonna end up grabbing this. And what else do we want to grab? What's our ammo looking like? That's fine. I think the last thing we grab is just, I don't know. Maybe we grab Hard Light Accelerator. Kind of add on top of it. So let's talk about the cycle that we've just created. Every time we shoot, every 5th shot from our primary fire will fire 2 extra bolts in a spread that deal 50% reduced damage. Targets hit by our take aim will reduce the cooldown of our abilities and refund 1 ammo every time they're shot. Perfect. When we use an ability, we're going to restore 50% of our max ammo. And after using Quick Dash, our bow shots will heal us for our life. So we get a little bit of survivability in here. We get some ammo back, we get cooldowns back, and we get more damage. Perfect. How do we add on to that? Whenever we hit them with a bolt, which is a requirement to get our cooldowns down, by the way, we can add on top of that by making our attack speed significantly faster. On top of that, when we get kills, the cooldowns are reset, which adds to the power of our 50% ammo regeneration, meaning we won't have to reload if we get a kill, which should be pretty easy with the amount of power we have. On top of that, we have just really high damage critical hits, reveal the target. This is not as important, but it's just the high power that this comes with that is what's important. Then we have attack speed that will add on to the attack speed we get from the take aim buff. And then we have just base level cooldown reduction. When we use an ability, we get power, which we have to use abilities to get our power up, and it can stack. And so after we've done this, our value has significantly gone up by improving our uptime, improving our overall power, and just making everything add up. So if I shoot this guy with my crossbow, that's kind of what it looks like at a base level, but let's start cycling. We shoot, we dash, we get kills, we dash, we get kills. The more that we get kills, the more ammo we get back because the more cooldowns we have. And let's just start cycling, and let's see how long I can have my uptime be at. See how I haven't reloaded a single time, by the way? And it's kind of like snowballing, basically. My kill time is insane. And now we've created a cycle. You notice the cycle? It's fire the shot, shoot, and then use our cooldown to get ammo back. Fire, shoot, fire, shoot, fire, shoot a bunch, get our ammo back, use our cooldowns to enable our power even more. And now we've created a cycle. And this cycle will be infinitely stronger than that instant gratification we got by picking things that didn't have any downsides and then using them to our advantage. So that's just a great mini example of that. And there's very, very much better examples, but that was just kind of on the spot because I wanted to just like show how my idea of a build has evolved and how on the spot I can just kind of think of things like that and they'll just end up working out. All right, so now that we've done that, I'm going to do a random build on the spot with a random character and one random power as a basis to show you guys how I think in this process and how to create a cyclical build for a character that can be beneficial. Now, the chances are that we're going to get a power that works in unison with other powers is not high, so it's going to be difficult to have to work with something completely random on the spot, but I'm going to do my best. Here we are on the Wheel of Names. I have every single character that is part of Stadium as of right now. I'm going to cut out and completely gut Freya, because we just did a build with Freya. Let's begin and see who we get. Hopefully I get somebody who has like interesting powers and stuff. Okay, we got Moira. Interesting. Wasn't expecting to get Moira. Cool. So let's go in, pick Moira, and I'm literally just going to do this and then start spam clicking. I literally have my eyes closed. I don't know what's going on. I can hear myself grabbing them. I guess I'll just like stop here. All right, let's grab this. All right. So this is the power we have. Allies healed by your Biotic Grasp are healed for an additional 25% of Biotic Grasp's healing. So Biotic Grasp is the healing and damage part of your kit. It's basically your primary fire and your secondary fire, but this is mainly the primary fire. So it looks like we're going to want to go for some primary fire buffs and things that benefit healing our teammates, as well as mixing in a fair amount of damage so that we're effective and making our utility effective. So I think immediately what I'm going to think of is, let's look at, all right, I'm a fan of this. I immediately am going to look at this, however, for the extra effectiveness. We're also going to grab this, and I think we're going to grab this. Actually, let's go for this one, because we want to have utility to be effective for our team here based off of this power. We're not going for raw damage, we're going for utility benefit. So by being able to use our secondary fire to empower our teammates, we basically kind of become a mini Mercy, where we can also heal using the utility that we've just grabbed here. So let's go for that instead. Let's take a look here. The secondary fire restores more energy. That seems pretty good. You get more max energy. We don't necessarily need that. I'm gonna get this one just for the sole reason that it's beneficial. I'm going to get this because it's going to give us more biotic energy when we use the secondary fire. That's good. Let's go here. We're gonna gain this one and this one. I'm also gonna grab Champion's Kit to make our utility more effective, and let's just grab one more to make our secondary fire also effective, because we want to be able to restore quickly. Let's go for the attack speed and see how that plays out, because I'm pretty sure attack speed will also apply to our Biotic Grasp. Alright, so let's see how this utility build is going to work for us. I've basically created a cycle in how my cooldowns work, where I can heal, I can use my cooldowns either defensively or offensively, and use that power in order to help farm up more of my grasp. My goal is to have as much grasp uptime as possible and heal as quickly as possible. When I start to run out, not only can I damage boost my teammates, which I completely forgot about. This is fantastic to be able to do while I need that uptime. I can do this, I can fade in, maybe grab some free healing, throw this back, go like this. I can give the damage boost, I can decide what I want to do with it. But the point is that I can be effective with no matter what I'm doing. The cycle is to heal teammates when they're lower on HP, use my utility effectively, and when I need a moment, when I can't do something to get my healing, let's say I run completely out of healing, which is very hard to do because I gave myself a bunch of healing buffs and a bunch of things that make my gauge stay longer, I get my healing back nice and quick, and then I can immediately go back to healing them again. And that's what the cycle ends up becoming. So let's see this. How fast can I heal them to full when I do this? Pretty quick. Oh, they're starting to get low and I'm running out of tendril stuff. I'm going to do this to get as much back as physically possible, and then I'm going to go back and heal them, using my utility as a way to stall until I can get that back. As much utility uptime as I can. Oh, we kind of have an open area here. Oh, I need a little bit more. I'm going to ult. Keep you guys alive. Perfect. Maybe get some damage in. And as you can see, this is what the build's doing. It's using advantages like my utility that I just grabbed. And it's using as much advantages as I can get off of the powers that I grabbed. So we have a lot of healing We have a lot of stall for when I need to get more healing, and getting the healing is then easier. So the cycle is heal, use utility to stall, and then get the healing back. So as you can see, I got a power that I personally would not pick on Moira, and might not be the strongest or most effective power that I can physically use, but I was able to make a build out of it that will actually end up working to my benefit. So that just goes to show that no matter what you get, you can make a build that's actually effective. Does not matter what you do. You can always make a build that's going to be effective. Nice and quick, that was that easy little showcase that I just made right there. Hopefully you understand the idea behind it and how I tried to make everything work in unison with each other. So yeah, that was that random build. Hopefully you guys understand how to make builds a little bit easier. And for those of you who stuck around till the end of the video, I have a little gift for you guys. If any of you guys play Ana, I have a free build that I use personally. I think it's my favorite build. It's one of the strongest ones. I always got you guys, but I encourage that you try making your own and try to find ones that fit your play style, because that is how you will do the best. This fits my play style the most. I'm somebody who likes to take advantage of, you know, getting picks when the opportunity arises and being able to do damage on my own when I find that my team is not able to do that, as well as assisting them with high pressure. For anyone on the enemy team who likes to make a mistake, if I can get even one shot on them, it's a very high pressure, forces them to back out a little bit and play a little bit safer, which is honestly great for me as well, because it adds to my own survivability. So here's this build. You'll probably see me use it if you ever check me out on stream. I usually play with this build. So you'll probably get to see it in action. Very, very strong. Very, very useful. But yeah, that's basically going to be it for this video. I hope you guys really enjoyed it, and hopefully you understand how to make builds better so you don't have to keep stealing people's on the internet, and you can make your own. And let's just say yours just so happens to be the same as somebody else's you see on the internet. I actually see that quite a bit. Who cares? You didn't steal it from them. Of all things, you should be proud, because that means you thought of a build that somebody else thought that, you know, other people are taking from them. You didn't have to take from them, and you still found it. So good for you. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out, guys.